There's a moment in everyone's life when everything collapses. Not gradually, not little by little, but all at once. As if the ground opens beneath your feet and you fall into a void you didn't even know existed. And in that moment, you have two choices. You can pretend it's not happening and keep sleeping, or you can truly wake up for the first time in your life. Today, I'm going to tell you about that moment, the moment when life forces you to wake up, and why it's the cruelest and most precious gift you'll ever receive. We spend most of our lives on autopilot, waking up, working, eating, sleeping, repeating. We build comfortable routines, predictable relationships, safe careers. We accumulate things, titles, achievements. And on the outside, everything seems fine. But inside, there's a void, a feeling that you're living someone else's life, that you're following a script someone wrote for you, but that you never questioned, that you're asleep, just going through the motions without really being present. And we ignore it. We sweep that feeling under the rug. We distract ourselves. We keep busy because looking at that void is too scary until life decides it's time, and it doesn't ask permission. It could be a betrayal you never imagined. It could be a job loss that destroys your identity. It could be an illness that forces you to confront your mortality. It could be the death of someone you loved. It could be an emotional collapse that seems to come from nowhere. Whatever it is, it's devastating. It's the kind of thing that brings you to your knees, that strips away all your certainty, that shows you that you never had as much control as you thought you did. And it's painful. God, it's painful. Because you're losing not just what happened, but the entire illusion you built around your life. You're losing the version of yourself you spent years creating. You're losing the narrative that kept you functioning. But here's what nobody tells you in that moment. You're not losing anything that was real. You're just waking up to reality for the first time. Eckhart Tolle has a concept that changed my life. He talks about the ego and how it builds an identity based on external things. Your job, your relationships, your possessions, your achievements. And the ego convinces you that you are these things, that without them, you are nothing. So when you lose these things, the ego panics. It tells you that you're finished, that life is over, that you have nothing left. But the truth is the opposite. The truth is that you finally have the chance to discover who you are when everything is taken away. Who you are in the absence of everything you used to define yourself. And that discovery is the awakening. I remember my moment. It was when everything I had built collapsed at the same time. Career, relationship, health, everything. And I found myself alone, on the floor, with nothing, without the masks, without the achievements, without the distractions. And you know what I discovered? That I didn't know who I was. I had spent so many years trying to be what others expected, trying to achieve what society said was important, trying to fill a void with external things, that I had completely lost touch with my essence. I was a stranger to myself, and that was terrifying, but it was also liberating, because for the first time, I had the opportunity to choose who I wanted to be, not who I should be, not who others wanted me to be, but who I really was deep down. Carl Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's exactly what happens in these moments of rupture. The darkness becomes impossible to ignore, and you're forced to look at it. And when you really look without running away, you discover something surprising. The darkness doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. It shows you the parts of yourself you were hiding, the wounds you never healed, the fears you never faced, the truths you never wanted to admit. And yes, it hurts, but it's a necessary pain. It's the pain of growth. It's the pain of a butterfly leaving the cocoon. It's the pain of waking from a dream to reality, because the life you were living before was a dream. It was comfortable, perhaps. It was familiar, for sure. But it wasn't real. It was a construction, an illusion, a performance. And when life forces you to wake up, it's doing you a favor. A brutal favor, yes, but a favor. It's giving you the chance to truly live, to stop pretending, to stop sleeping, to stop wasting your precious days on things that don't matter. Rumi, the mystical poet, wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you, and it's the purest truth. That devastating moment that broke you, That's the opening through which you can finally let something new in. Something real. Something true. But only if you don't close it. Only if you don't run back to old patterns. Only if you have the courage to stay in the rupture long enough to let transformation happen. And I know it's tempting to go back. Back to the known. Rebuild the same life. Find the same distractions. Fall asleep again. But you can't. Not after waking up. Not after seeing the truth. You can pretend for a while, but the awakening has already happened. The seed has already been planted. And it will keep growing, pushing you toward authenticity, forcing you to live consciously. So what do you do? How do you navigate this moment? First, you stop resisting. You accept that your old life is over. You let go of what no longer serves you. You allow the ego to die a little. And you trust that something new will emerge. Second, you allow yourself to feel everything. The anger, the sadness, the fear, the confusion. You don't try to fix it quickly. You don't try to jump to the happy ending. You stay in the mess. You honor the process. Third, you start asking different questions. Not how do I get back to normal, but who do I want to be now? Not how do I recover what I lost, but what is this loss showing me? Not why did this happen to me, but what is this for? Because when you change the questions, you change the answers. And when you change the answers, you change your life. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, discovered that even in the worst moments, we have the freedom to choose how we respond. We don't choose what happens, but we always choose the meaning we give to what happens. So you can choose to see this moment of rupture as the end, as a tragedy, as proof that life is unfair and cruel. Or you can choose to see it as an awakening, as a new beginning, as the chance to finally live authentically. And I'm not romanticizing the pain. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you should be grateful in the middle of suffering. I'm saying that on the other side of pain exists something you couldn't reach any other way. There's a version of you that's more real, more whole, more alive. A version that can only emerge when everything false is burned away. And maybe you're going through that moment now. Maybe your life is falling apart. Maybe you're on the floor wondering how you'll survive. Let me tell you, you will. Not in the way you imagine. Not by going back to what was, but by moving toward what you're becoming. Life forced you to wake up because you were ready. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if you think you can't handle it. You were ready for this next level of consciousness, for this next version of yourself. And when you get through this, when you emerge on the other side, you'll look back and understand. You'll see that moment wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your real life. If this video reached you at this moment, it's not a coincidence. Leave your like, share it with someone going through a rupture, and tell me in the comments, have you been through your awakening moment? What did it teach you? See you in the next video.